Hello, excited to go live with Dr. Robyn Graham today from the pre-launch plan program's second cohort. And what I have just loved so much about what we do inside of the pre-launch plan program is that it's just not just another course, right? It is an actual experiential group coaching program. And I use the word experiential because that is the exact word that that's about like what it was like inside the program. So I'm just really glad that she's coming on and she should be here. Whoops, I thought I pressed it. I swear Instagram is making it hard for me lately to do this. Let's try again. Okay, now I think, hi! I couldn't get it. It was like I was pressing the button and it wasn't working. So I'm so glad you're here.
Hi, how are you?
Good, good. I was just telling everyone that I was excited that you were here because one of the things I just loved about the program is that it's so like interactive and the way that you talked about it, how it was experiential. I know we're going to talk, whoops, I just dropped my phone, talk more about it today. So first of all, tell everyone who you are and what you do.
So I am Robyn Graham, and I am a brand strategist and business coach, and I help women start and grow their businesses without having to rely on social media. And I do that through brand marketing strategy, creating a solid personal brand that helps you become more visible online. And we do that by using SEO and systems tools and processes that maybe you aren't already aware of. That's that.
Yeah, I love that. And that was one of the things we really like honed in. Like, I think there's so many of us, like, yes, we love social media. I mean, Robyn and I met on social media, but not having to rely on it for our day-to-day businesses.
Right, right. And it's a beautiful thing for building relationships, but I think when you're starting out, it can be very overwhelming and intimidating. And if there's anything that's distracting you from doing things intentionally to build a solid foundation on platforms that you own, then it's best to stay away from it until you're ready and everything else is in place.
Yeah. Well, and it just makes it so much easier, right? When
Yes.
everything else is in place, then all of a sudden social media makes a lot more sense instead of like trying to like figure social media out while you're trying to figure your business out. And then not to mention like comparison. I know this is something that you talk about, but something we all deal with. I don't care how long we've been in business, at least most of us, right? That like scroll and compare and look and wonder what other people are doing and what you're doing wrong, and they're doing the same thing. It's kind of a silly thing if you think about it.
Well, it is really silly, right? But we're human and we all have a brain that sometimes can be real jerks, right? And we get into that comparison trap even though the reason why we have a business, the reason we're becoming entrepreneurs is because we have a unique gift. God has put a unique gift, talents, and a journey that we've experienced to bring us right to the moment that we're in. And all of those things collectively give us that expertise to be able to help people that in a way that only we can help them. And so to compare ourselves to others is really it's really silly, and what ends up happening is it just brings us down instead of building us up. So it's important to identify with the fact that you're unique and that's what gives you your abilities, and no one else can do what you do the way you do it, and no one else can help people that need you specifically, because there's that connection, right? The emotional connection based on your journeys, your stories, and everything you've been through that can now help them more than anybody else can help them.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I love how I think that when you talk about it, it's like, I don't even know if I've thought about it like that way you just say it. Not that this is what we're going to talk about, but like how it creates like this self-sabotage when the thing that's like supposed, like you said, like we're so unique in what we do. And then what we end up doing is self-sabotaging us and actually questioning that uniqueness, which is, that's
Yeah.
the whole point of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. Which brings us to copy, right? Like that's the bonus of when we recognize our unique qualities and our unique gifts and the unique way that we can help other people. That should all be brought out in our copy. And that is something that, telling those stories, which was one of the things that, you really brought out in me when I was in your course was that my stories are worth telling, even if they seem mundane or silly to me.
Yeah, totally. Well, let's back up. So, like, you were a part of the last round of the pre-launch plan program. Can you say, like, what made you decide, like, okay, this is something that I want to do?
So I had never done a launch before, Brenna, and as you know, like I've been following you for years. We've become friends. You've been a guest on my podcast, The Robyn Graham Show, and I've learned a lot from you over the years in terms of writing copy, but I'd never mastered it. I still would not say I'm a master like you are, but I have a better understanding of it. And I think part of that was the experiencing how you look at copy, especially related to a launch, was really important for me going into a launch for the very first time.
Right. And when you were inside the program, can you tell everyone like what it looked like and what it felt like as we were working through some of these things?
So we met, what did we meet? Weekly, I think. We met weekly. It was a group of us, and you taught us. You taught us a lot of great information and great tips, tools. You provided a lot of resources for us. There was always a place to go to find more information. I never felt like I was lacking information, so to speak. Sometimes I got a little overwhelmed and I'd text you or email you and be like, Brenna, but there was so much information that I didn't have to search for it anywhere else. I knew that everything was in this one container, and it enabled me to focus on what I was creating versus focusing on what maybe I should be doing or what I didn't know. And that was really helpful. And then also just hearing you work with other people during our sessions when they asked questions, I learned from that as well. So overall, it was just a great experience because I was learning from you, but I was also seeing how you could take multiple different businesses, experiences, and even though we were all different, there's still one philosophy that can be applied to just about anything when it comes to pre-launch.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that it's funny. I was talking to Nina earlier this morning, who is
She's
part of
great.
our cohort. Yes, I love Nina. And she was saying the same thing that like she like at least I think she said the same thing, was that basically you learn, and this is something I hear, and I think this is part of the reason why I love doing this as a group coaching program versus, just like a course or something where you hand off, is like you learn so much, especially when it comes to copy and writing, is like when you see it and we're discussing concepts or ideas or strategy with someone else, all of that advice you're able to kind of piece together, and it also helps like create like a more cohesive way, I guess, to approach it. Like, wouldn't you say so?
Yeah, I would. And I think it's really what I was just thinking, and let me see if I can put this into words, but it's like when you're hearing other people have the same questions, challenges, or even maybe the inability to put things into words, and to hear you coach them, it gives you, or gave me, more creative insight into how I could rephrase things, or how I could pull more voice of customer, or how I could connect more with my audience just from hearing other insight and other people's experiences as well.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I've learned so much. I know there was one, I was part of a group coaching program a couple years ago, and I know like I showed up for every call, not even so, because I learned so much. Actually, I'm part of one right now where I do the same thing, where it's like I go just to kind of hear, because it's like listening to other people get coached actually helps me, and I think that's one of like the benefits of being part of a group in that regard.
Oh, absolutely. And it doesn't matter what your business is or who your soulmate client is. If you are hearing a new perspective, it stimulates your own creativity and gives you new insight on how you could address a problem, or even just write your copy so that it'll resonate in a different way.
Totally. So would you say that was the favorite part of the program, or is there anything else that stands out to you that you really liked?
So I liked that, but my favorite part was having your eyes on what I was writing, just for that checks and balances. Like, am I on the right track? And the one thing that I found the most beneficial was when you would say, add more story here, or dig deeper for a story, or something like that. Like, you just pushed me to think deeper in terms of how I could communicate my story so that my audience could resonate more with not only who I am, but how I can help them.
Right. I love that. And then story is such a powerful tool. And sometimes it's hard when we're on our own to be like, okay, how does this story fit in here? Or what story should it be? And for anyone who's listening now or later, one of the things I do inside this program, which I think is very unique, is that I actually go over and do personalized edits on some of the copy that you write inside the program. So you're getting constant feedback on not just watching other people in this group coaching environment, but also in getting the edits and getting to see. Do you feel like it would help you like later on when it comes, like when you're writing now? Have you found it helpful, some of those things that we talked about?
Yes. And here, as you were talking, I was thinking to myself, so now when I'm doing things throughout my day, I'm thinking, how can I associate that to brand marketing strategy? Or how can I associate that to mindset? How can I use this experience that I'm experiencing right now to relate to what my soulmate client, what my audience, what my community is thinking while they're making dinner tonight? And so it's really made me take my own content, copywriting, and just overall business experience or entrepreneurial experience to a new level in terms of connecting more intimately and getting to know more intimately my own clients or my own audience, I should say.
Yeah, no, I love that. I was talking about that in my Facebook group last week because I was like, once you know your strategy, which is something we work on a lot inside the pre-launch program as well. It's like, once you know your strategy, all of a sudden then too, it's like, then you can be more cognizant of the stories when it's happening. Like they start to jump out at you instead of sitting at like a Google Doc and being like, oh my gosh, what should I talk about today? Right? Like it actually starts to like, they come alive and you start seeing the world in a kind of a different, if sometimes you get too many stories, I feel like, at least with me, I'm always like, okay, I need to shut the stories down.
I'm like, wait, I can't send 5 emails this week. So when am I going to post this story? Or when am I going to send this story? Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. And these stories too, it's not just for copy too. It's like when we can like entertain, or not entertain, but intrigue people, whether it's live videos or our own, like you do coaching with the students, like all of those things, it all kind of benefits and starts to like stand out. So I love that. Yeah. So when you think back over the process, it's like for anyone who's like thinking, okay, is this a program that I should do? Like, what would you say to them?
I would say if you have ever launched anything and it was not successful, if you've never done a pre-launch and you want to transform your launch, or if you want to launch something new, I would encourage anyone to do the pre-launch program simply because it's a completely unique concept. And it's a unique way to warm your audience before you actually get to the launch. And I think it simplified everything for me related to my launch. I was ready for it. I was ready for the launch. I wasn't afraid of the launch. I felt like I was so prepared, and I had prepared my community that something really great was coming down the pipeline.
Yeah. And I think too, like, let's talk a little bit about that as well, because we spent a lot of time planning. And I know like that's something that we worked on together, was actually getting a plan ahead of time. Can you speak a little bit like what that looked like?
So I like to have everything planned out in my head, or on paper, I should say, and to know, like, when we worked on our calendar and we worked backwards by, okay, if this is going to be our launch date, when do we need to start sending out emails? When do we need to start posting on social media? But most importantly was not even the dates, but what to post. when we posted it. And that whole strategy, because I am a strategic thinker, just having someone guide me throughout that strategy, or to create that strategy and then implement it for my specific program, was just, it was priceless, because I didn't know that. And I would have spent a lot of time researching that. And I didn't have to do that because you were there to teach it to me.
Yeah, I love that. Kind of like takes a bit of the thinking out of it. I think that's what, when it comes to like planning a launch or doing a launch, I think that it is like actually just like sitting down and figuring out what goes when sometimes can seem
Mm-hmm.
overwhelming enough. And then to add
Yeah.
on like, okay, then what do I need to say on top of it?
Yeah. And the accountability. Like, I'm one of those people, if I'm going to commit to something, I'm going to make sure it gets done. And but oftentimes I think when you don't know what you don't know, you tend to put things off, or you just don't put in as much effort as maybe what needs to be. So for me, knowing that we were meeting every Thursday, and knowing that if I got it done, I could have your eyes on it, that was critical for me. It really pushed me to do it and get it done in a timely fashion, versus waiting and then delaying. Like, well, I can just put the launch off for another month, or, I can just delay this for a few weeks. Instead, I was motivated just because of the accountability piece, and knowing that you were there to have
Yeah.
that checks and balance for me. That was key.
Yeah, I think that's huge. And it's part of the reason why I teach the program live, and will do it next time and do everything live and not just put it into like a course, is because I think, especially when it comes to, and I can say this for my own business, when it comes to like deeper messaging work, deeper strategic work, deeper things that are going to benefit your business long time, like it's not easy. Like it's not like, I'm not saying it's hard, but it takes like time and effort. So when you have that like accountability, or you have someone to show it to, I feel like it helps, like it motivates me knowing, okay, I'm going to go to this call, someone's going to look at this. And that's kind of how why I implemented it the way, or do the implementation the way that I do it.
Yeah, and
So
I don't have online courses either, and that's part of the reason. Like, I love human connection, and I love the fact that we can motivate and inspire each other to take more action and then have that accountability. I just think it's more empowering, because I know that I like to have that discipline, but I think a lot of people need that discipline. And so to have that was really key for me.
oh, I love that. So wrapping up, if anyone is thinking like, should I do this? Should I not? Like, what would you tell them?
I would say it was worth the time, and it was worth the investment, because you have something concrete that you can repurpose over and over and over and over again with minor tweaks. So if you want to launch something on repeat, it's just a dead giveaway that this is going to give you more value than what you could ever expect.
One last question I'd love to know, like, do you feel like things that you learned inside the program will also help you outside of a launch cycle?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have noticed that my email marketing has improved based on what I learned in the program. And again, part of that is that just constantly thinking of, okay, how can I relate this experience, this story, this unique thing to my community, so that I can help them understand better what I do, and also provide value to them, for them, through my experiences. So my mind is approaching things, content creation, differently than it was before I took your course or class. Does that make
Oh, I
sense?
love that. Yes, yes,
Yeah.
totally. So, well, I appreciate you, Robyn. I appreciate you being part of the pre-launch plan program. And if anyone's watching now or later, the doors reopen on March 22nd. So if you want one of those spots that we have open, send me a DM and I'll give you more information. But I appreciate you so much, Robyn, taking the time out of your day to come live with me.
Thanks. And as you know, this is a big deal because I haven't been on Instagram since September. So
Oh my gosh, I know. I appreciate you do that. Like Robyn's not using social media to grow her business. And that's the other thing that I think is really cool, that like with the pre-launch plan program, yeah, I show you how to do social media, but it's not dependent on that. It's teaching you a system to apply to any of the content that you put out there, whether it's your podcast like Robyn has, or blog articles, SEO, like all of these other things that you can really incorporate into your pre-launch and into your long-term like sales goals as well.
yeah. Well, thank you, Brenna.
I appreciate you. Bye.
Bye.